what attracts me to the form of plays, in a weird way, I feel you can almost do anything in a play, which is odd because in a film, of course, you can do anything, but you're so removed from it with a film, whereas in theater, when you go to a play and they do something really theatrical, it's transcendent. It changes you. And so I love that element of playwriting. That said, not all of my plays have, magical moments or amazing theatrical tricks. But there is something about writing for a space in a certain amount of time that things happen right in front of people that feels like a puzzle that I need to solve. And I love puzzles. Hi, I'm Deb Hiett. And if you'd like to learn a little bit about me and my podcast play, please continue to watch this video. So when the prompt went out to propose this, I felt really excited. And that was also nice to feel excited about an opportunity this year like this. And then to be selected for it was just a lifesaver. When I first moved to Los Angeles from New York, I was working for a while as a organizer, like a personal organizer. People would hire me to come and it ran the gamut. But there was one woman that hired me, and she lived in one of those high-rise apartments in Westwood, and she was lovely. And she was probably in her mid-80s, had lived a very small but happy life, and for a very long time in this apartment. And so she had hired me to help go through a bunch of stuff that she had accumulated over the years. And so I got to know her a little bit, and I was surprised that she could have been living in any little college town in anywhere. Her world really was limited to UCLA, where she'd worked for her whole career, and her apartment. And it was fine. She was very happy, and it was fine. But it was interesting because I think, well, you live in LA, you have this all these broad interests, and you go here and go there, and you have all these interesting friends, and her world was very small, and it always sort of stuck with me. And there's a little bit of a running theme in my work of awakening people who have been maybe sleepwalking through their life a little bit, and fine, but something happens that makes them realize that there is a lot more to life, or there's a bigger world out there than they might have realized, or they need to be awakened to some aspect of their world that is keeping them from being happy. Earlier this year, a friend of mine had attended a peaceful protest that had turned not peaceful. And his experience in the aftermath of just understanding how volatile the situation can be, who are the good guys and who are the bad guys, how a movement can be hijacked, how people who are trying to keep the peace maybe have other motives, and just how fraught those situations can be. And so I thought of, what if there was a woman who was older who maybe wanted to get involved for the companionship as much as anything, who wanted to feel like part of a bigger movement, and really did not understand how complicated things would get. And so that was sort of the kernel of Westwood. And when I learned that the FBI headquarters, an FBI headquarter office is in Westwood, I thought, oh yeah, that's my neighborhood for this play. I felt compelled to write it because there's this great saying, if you genuinely need to tell a story, there's genuinely someone who needs to hear it. And this year, I also learned, I created an addendum for that, which is, if you don't know what to say, maybe it's time to just listen. So for many months, I was not writing. I just didn't know what to say, and realized that I had to just listen and try to evaluate and allow for my own kind of waking up, coming to terms with all kinds of aspects of my life. And it was the story that I really wanted to tell, that I felt that compulsion to tell, that I hadn't felt really for the whole year. And so I'm so grateful that I had this opportunity to tell it and have it be brought to life with such immediacy and also with such professionalism at Antaeus. It's just amazing. So yeah, I think that it's a big year for people waking up, and it seems like it's an opportunity, even if it feels like a crisis. It's maybe both, but it's certainly going to be different going forward, and we get to choose how engaged we want to be and can be, and feel the obligation to be as engaged as we can be. Working with the director, Carolyn Radray, was so helpful. It really is such a process. This is another part of theater that I appreciate so much, is the collaborative aspect of it. Film is also collaborative, but in a very different way for the writer. And so I appreciate how respectful everyone is of the process of writing, but also taking what I have and elevating it and taking it to different places that I hadn't even fully considered. It was also a very abbreviated development period, just by necessity. So I also appreciated working with really smart people who can very carefully, but with straightforward energy, get to the point and say, here's what I think. What do you think about this? And it just allowed for a great back and forth. And I like to work quickly, so that worked out. And then when we got the actors involved, I mean, it's always just such a joy to have great actors and just hear the words in their mouth. I mean, you can't, it always just takes it up another level. I keep saying elevated, but it's true. It just feels like it takes it to a new level. And once you start to hear that actor in your head, then when you go back to rewrite, it's like, oh, you can start to really get a feel for how they would say it and have a sense of that very clearly in your mind. I think that's some of the music training too in my life, of just hearing it, and it's a symphony. And so you're just trying to put in all the different instruments at the right time, and hopefully at the right volume. But yeah, it was amazing. The whole team was amazing. Jeff also just his magic with sound design. So I'm so excited for everyone to hear it. Writing for a podcast versus a regular play is interesting. And in particular, for this piece, I wanted to not go down the traditional path of what I have in my head as a radio play, but more present the story in a series of digital files. And by that, I mean, these are all clips that would be in a digital file that the FBI might have on you or me. And so in this world of surveillance, that could be a file that was taken from someone's Alexa. It could be taken from a handheld recorder. It could be taken from a room mic in an interrogation room. But there's no interstitial information between these two files. It's really just listening to these clips and piecing the story together as it goes. So that idea really appealed to me when I sort of thought maybe the story would work if I could tell it that way. And fortunately, Antaeus was up for the challenge of putting that together, since it is a little bit different. So, but yeah, I think in general, listening to a story versus having the advantage of seeing it, it's a wonderful way of telling a story. It's very different. So, how do you infuse those nuances just by listening? It's fascinating, and it was super fun. I want the audience to be entertained first and foremost. I would love it if the audience hung on to the story for a while, if it stuck with them, if it makes them think. I don't want to say too specifically because I don't want to spoil it. But I do think there is, we're at such a specific time in history, and how much we get involved in the world around us, even if it's our neighborhood, and with people that we care about, and extending ourselves for those people and those things that we hold dear, those causes and projects. And I think it's important for people to evaluate that for themselves, and make those decisions, and then decide how to act if they choose to act. So if it makes somebody think about that even a little bit, that would be great. I am looking forward to picturing each neighborhood as I'm listening to this. Now, I say that knowing that my play is not exactly a travelogue of Westwood. It's not about Westwood specifics in the neighborhood, although there are a little bit it is. But I'm looking forward to, there's so many different disparate neighborhoods represented in the series, and I haven't read any of the other pieces. So I'm really looking forward to just listening and doing a mental drive-by of all these different areas, some of which I'm not that familiar with. And it's certainly exciting to imagine how they might be represented. So I'm just looking forward to it. People must listen to these, because what else are you going to be doing? It's like, why not? They're less than 30 minutes each. They're free, and they'll take you away. They will take you away from the mental anguish of living your life, of the stresses of everyday existence these days. It's an opportunity to disappear into another world for a little bit. Who wouldn't want that? Who wouldn't want that? I'm Deb Hiett, and if you enjoyed this conversation, please check out antaeus.org and learn more about how to see and hear these zip code plays.